have to say as an aside here that having spent a long time giving talks of one kind or another on the budget to people in federal agencies, I'm always sort of entertained when people in federal agencies describe the Congress as irrational. Because I actually think the Congress is a perfectly rational body. I think the Congress is rational. The Congress does the things that the Congress cares about, and it does know that there is a direct connection between what it does and what it cares about. It's just that what it cares about is not what people in federal agencies care about. I do not call that irrational. You know, you can call it misguided. You know, you can say they're not really out for the public interest, they're just out for themselves. You can call it a lot of things, but irrational is not one of the things I'd call it. In terms of management, we don't know very much about the potential management agenda of the presidential candidates. If one of them, for example, had been a governor, then we would know more. If one of them had been a mayor, then we would know more, because they would have run some large executive enterprise. We can learn something, perhaps, from the way they run their presidential campaigns, but there's nothing in particular about their management agenda that I think has become obvious to us from the presidential campaign, or probably will. Even if they decided to do exactly the same thing the Bush administration has done, and I'm going to go out on another limb and say that Senator Obama would not do that, but even if they decided to do exactly the same thing, they wouldn't call it the same thing. So I don't think you're going to see the program assessment rating tool, for example, in a McCain administration. Even if he comes up with something that essentially does the same thing, he'll call it something different. And I think the last thing here, and particularly for those of you who are in OMB, I think a lot may depend on who the OMB director is and whether the OMB director is actually interested in these kinds of management reforms. I think an awful lot of what happened in the Bush administration really owes to the fact that Mitch Daniels, his first budget director, was somebody who really cared about this stuff and has subsequently become governor of Indiana, and he's actually doing many of these same things in Indiana that he helped to do for the federal government. So OMB director is a very important position in terms of setting the kind of management reform agenda for the new administration. So depending on who these individual candidates, when they become president, would select as OMB director, that'll probably tell you a lot about what they're planning to do. All right, I'll shut up now, and we have somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 minutes. So the clock up here has said it's 10:53 ever since I started. So that's the fastest I ever went through anything. I started at 10:53 and I ended at 10:53. So questions, comments, dissenting views. Somebody must have a question. Did I just depress you all? Is that the problem? Yes, thank you.
During the Republican primaries, did Ron Paul give anything substantive on how things should be done?
I didn't see anything, but I may not have been paying close enough attention. He certainly came closer. You know, I mean, he made the other candidates sufficiently uncomfortable that that the other Republican candidates that he sort of came closer. For example, on the war. But I don't remember, and I could just have missed it, I don't remember him saying anything about, for example, how we should control the growth of Medicare. What did he say anything about the Bush tax cuts? He may have said that he didn't necessarily see how you could make the tax cuts permanent when we had this big deficit. I'm not 100% sure of that, but it seems to me that he might have said that. But if he did, he was the only one of the Republican candidates who did. Another question? Yeah.
The CBO and the OMB, we understand that its main responsibility is to provide timely and objective analysis of the federal budget and policy proposal that has some kind of budgetary impacts. Right. In your perspective, what about non-governmental research organizations, think tanks like the Brookings Tax Policy Center and other places? What is their contribution to informing the public debate on these kind of issues?
That's a really good question. I think we should